All right, everyone, we start off today talking about East Palestine syndrome. Yes, a new syndrome has just dropped, and this time it actually is a medical crisis, by the way. It's a form of chronic bronchitis, basically, that's beginning to be experienced by people in East Palestine. So lung problems, pain, difficulty breathing, skin issues as well, rashes and so forth, itchiness and dryness, and it's being deemed East Palestine syndrome. By the way, coincidentally dropping on the same day as the Havana syndrome report. I'm sure that there was no timing involved there, and it's a coincidence as always with the legacy media and the government, the forces that be. Link in the description, archived of course to the main story. Who would have thought that chronic exposure to background levels of, heavy chemicals that are literally carcinogenic and will cause cancer as well down the road. After the election, Joe Biden's hoping, I'm sure, for the people there in downwind of the Ohio derailment many weeks ago. Who would have thought that would cause health problems? I don't know. I mean, I like my chemicals. I like my water to taste a little bit funny, so I drink energy drinks. But that's a voluntary choice. Like, I didn't decide to live somewhere where you were just rationed energy drinks and there was no water system or something. So I feel extra sorry for people that are in this area. Because their homes basically are useless now. Again, imagine just from the economic side, and it goes into ethics, etc., and certainly into public health, but just think of it from the most brutally honest, very robotic, like max headroom sort of point of view. Your only investment long-term, probably for working in lower middle class individuals there, and that's the bulk of the community. This is not exactly the Ritz. It's a small town in the Rust Belt. Your main investment is your home. It's the only thing that you have that's not depreciating wildly over time due to Bidenflation right now. Though that's beginning to reverse too. Whoops, sorry homeowners. And now your home is worth a considerably smaller amount than it was before because public consciousness has come to realize that the area is contaminated now. It does not matter whether they successfully round up all the contaminated material and ship it off to Texas and Michigan. Doesn't even matter because the public already knows of East Palestine. This is all that they know about East Palestine for the most part. It's a nondescript small town America situation. And they know, hey, if I buy land here, there's the possibility. So someone's selling their home there for 75% of its actual value, which is probably on the upper end of what they would be able to get right now, even from a group like BlackRock or something. And then 2 years later, we find out that the contamination in the water supply is so severe that it's uninhabitable for safety purposes. And then you're fucked. You've made an investment into that property. Likewise, if they don't manage to sell, their primary investment has dried up. I mean, who's going to leave their house to their kids or grandkids or something when you're in East Palestine? Nobody. No reasonable person, I would think. If the air smells funny and the water tastes funny and you have chronic lung problems now and skin problems too, and you've got a bunch of people in hazmat suits running around, they're telling you everything's safe, but they're dressed like they're, going on a mission to Mars. When they're telling you that everything's A-okay under those circumstances, they're basically trying to gaslight you 1984 style. Well, you wouldn't want to be a conspiracy theorist, would you? The government says it's A-okay. The water is perfectly fine. Yeah, you don't need to even buy a Brita filter. It's perfect. It's basically, hey, all those chemicals, they'll kill bacteria in the water supply, so don't worry too much. Hey, it's probably healthy for you. When do we get the so-called scientific report simping for the health benefits of vinyl chloride microparticles or something like that? I wouldn't be surprised if they tried it at this point. People have been completely gaslit up and down, and not just the people of East Palestine, on this issue. These people have been awashed in chemicals. There's a reason that they evacuated. It wasn't just because of the risk of a massive explosion. No, it's because of contamination. That's why Buttigieg didn't even want to go there. When he did, he spent a couple of hours in a closed-door meeting, basically, and then left. This is why Biden doesn't want to go there, not just for political reasons or because these are is anti-constituents, because it's MAGA country, quite literally. Unlike in the Jussie Smollett case, that actually applies here. No, you've got it's like Gulf War syndrome. The government denies that still too. Well, don't worry. A little bit of nerve gas is probably good for your brain. Don't worry too much, there was a storm that day, hence the name of the operation, and so it's all good. The weapons payload was pretty much dispersed. Don't worry about it. Oh, you can't walk anymore? You inexplicably have the shakes constantly? You develop some sort of neural disorder? That's just war nerves, my dude. Happened all the time in World War I, where they totally didn't deploy chemical weapons, by the way. This is concerning, because the contamination from that spill, by the way, didn't even largely end up in East Palestine. Most of it was what? It was incinerated in a trench next to the derailed train. It then went downwind. And some of that contaminant was not completely immolated and turned into, effectively, by the way, hydrochloric acid. Yeah, it was mostly acid rain. Some of that contamination went downwind and got rained out of the clouds. It didn't all happen to be decontaminated by the burning process. It could be a small amount, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact. Normally, environmentalists would be up in arms, but they've been completely pussified at this point. They've had their nutsacks removed, and basically they've all turned into NIMBYs like Greta Thunberg, so they're not complaining. Basically, the remnant core is East Palestine residents. They're complaining almost universally, by the way, if you listen to them at their various meetings. At least the civic awareness angle is better. Your community has been improved in this manner. People downwind for a short distance, some of them, and then people like me who analyze it because the legacy media keeps poo-pooing the story. Well, just think of all the rail disasters that happened under Donald Trump. They literally try to orange man bat it like the people of East Palestine don't mean dick to them. I mean, they don't. These are bumpkins. These are people out in rail yard America with rusted out factories and stuff. What the fuck do they have in common with some penthouse journalist making 7 figures and living in Frisco or in some place like that with the private security staff? No, they don't care about them. The government clearly doesn't. Considering it took them several weeks to clear FEMA funding for these poor people, now you've got them complaining of chronic ailments. Like I said before, and I hope that anyone from East Palestine or the general vicinity downwind heeded my warning, and it wasn't a warning that only I gave you. I hope that people went and got their annual physical a little bit early. I hope people went to the doctor and went to the dentist and got screened for cancer and all of these things preemptively and proactively, because now you're already seeing health problems here. Now, they'll probably say, well, it's just mass psychosis. These people always had bronchitis before. They don't remember that. This sparked their memory of coughing up a lunger every single morning. And so it's a mass psychosis incident. Yes. It's just the paranoid lemming masses believing conspiracy theories online. They will probably try to gaslight these poor people. That's probably what they'll do, because they don't want to have to shell out a bunch of money that they don't have when we're already running deep in the negative, deep in the red anyway under Bidenomics. They don't want to have to shell out to tens of thousands of afflicted people, because that's probably what you're going to see over the coming years. That's about all. Peace out.